Welcome to Creamer Media's Resources Watch, a weekly video roundup of the events and people making and shaping the news in the mining industry. This week, solar power set to reduce Pan-African's reliance on Eskom by 30%. South Africa's junior mining dearth is a result of unintended consequence. And bush clearing and shaft rehab is underway at the West Wits Gold Revival Project. The generation of solar power by top-performing gold mining company Pan-African Resources is expected to lower reliance on power utility Eskom by 30%.
The models we run, and again, on the initial 10 megawatts at Evander, we're not including any storage initially, because most of those solutions appear to be quite expensive, but you can sort of work on about 30% reduction in your power consumption and reliance on Eskom. And clearly, if we expand that, our intent would be to effectively have pretty much all of our group in South Africa run on solar during the daytime over the next 2 years or so. So you can assume then it will sort of reduce our power consumption and costs by about 30%. On other decarbonization, the focus for now will be solar and making sure that solar works. And, 10 megawatts will be the first plant, and by early next year, it would have proven itself. The feasibility basically calculated that the payback on the capital is less than 5 years. At the Eskom current rates of escalation, it will probably be closer to 4 years. So that's the big focus for us now, is just getting our group to run off the grid, so to speak, during the daytime hours in the next 24 months or so.
South Africa's junior mining dearth is a result of savings no longer flowing through to primary capital raising and stock exchange listings, as the Jacobs Committee expected them to do so.
It's a story that goes all the way back to the early 90s when a series of reports were released. They were called, I think, the Jacobs Committee reports, and they investigated what needed to change in the way that savings were managed in South Africa. And I believe that was the genesis of a whole series of reforms that have played out over the last 30 years. One of the most significant of which was, of course, the Phase Act as we know it, right? But it wasn't the only one. The context is also the changes to the Financial Markets Act, which has allowed new stock exchanges to be created, the relaxation of exchange controls, the different tax incentives that are provided. There have been a whole series of changes over the last 30 years. And I think, in general, they've been very good, particularly for savers, for ordinary savers. But there have definitely been some unintended consequences. And I think you can see the unintended consequence in the year-on-year decrease in the number of listings on the JSE.
Australia-listed West Wits Mining, which is considering a secondary listing on the JSE, has commenced bush clearing and old shaft rehabilitation west of Johannesburg as part of its far-reaching revival plans for an area where gold mining took place as recently as 20 years ago.
It's been a process getting up to this point where we recently got granted our mining right. We've recently announced our feasibility study, and we are now in a position of starting the mine there just outside of Johannesburg CBD. We're probably about 15 kilometers to the west of the Joburg CBD. And I'm happy to say that we've already started with bush clearing. We are busy rehabilitating some of the old shafts. So, we want to get going as quick as possible. And we hope to pull out the first ore early next year. And then from there on, start building up the project as we described in our feasibility study, ramping up our first stage to about 50,000 ounces a year, and then ultimately with the full potential of going to about 80 to 90,000 ounces per year.
For mining news as it breaks, stay logged onto miningweekly.com and register for our free daily newsletter.